Did you know that the terrifying Russian roulette scenes were so dangerous and realistic that they caused real psychological trauma to the actors? The guns were loaded with real blanks, but the explosions were so close to their heads that the risk was enormous. Picture a cold, dark room in a Vietnamese jungle, the sound of a single bullet spinning in a gun, and the look of pure terror in a friend's eyes. This film isn't just a war movie, it's a story about friendship, loyalty, and the invisible wounds that last a lifetime. It takes us from the loud, loving embrace of a wedding in a steel town to the quiet, broken silence of men who have seen too much. Let's dive in and discover 20 weird and amazing facts about The Deer Hunter. The Lost 5-hour movie director Michael Cimino was such a perfectionist that his first cut of The Deer Hunter was almost 5 hours long. He filmed so much footage, exploring every small detail of the characters' lives, that the studio executives were in a state of panic. They thought the movie was completely unreleasable and demanded that Cimino cut it down to a normal length. After weeks of painful editing, they managed to trim it to the 3-hour version we see today. No one knows for sure what secrets and scenes are still locked away in that lost footage. It's a movie legend, a phantom film that only a handful of people have ever seen. What we see as a masterpiece was once a sprawling monster of a movie. The wedding that was almost real. The famous wedding scene at the beginning of the film lasts for almost a full hour, and it feels so authentic because it almost was. Director Michael Cimino told the actors to just be themselves and enjoy the party. He had real alcohol on set and encouraged everyone to dance, sing, and interact as if they were at a real wedding. Many of the guests in the background were not actors, but local people from the town where they were filming. The beautiful, heartfelt toasts and the silly dancing were largely improvised, capturing a genuine feeling of joy and community. That wasn't just a party on screen, it was a real celebration that the cameras were lucky enough to capture. The actor who was dying. John Cazale, who played the gentle and troubled Stan, was one of the most respected actors of his generation. But while filming The Deer Hunter, he was secretly dying of bone cancer. The studio wanted to replace him, fearing he wouldn't be able to finish the film. But his co-star and fiancée, Meryl Streep, threatened to quit if they did. Director Cimino stood by Cazale, rearranging the entire shooting schedule to film all of his scenes first. Cazale was in immense pain, but you would never know it from his powerful performance. He died shortly after filming was completed. That wasn't just acting, it was a man facing his final days with incredible courage. The hunt for a real deer. Robert De Niro, who played Michael, was famous for his intense method acting. To prepare for his role as a deer hunter, he didn't just learn how to hold a rifle, he actually went to the mountains and learned how to hunt. He spent time with real hunters, studying their patience, their respect for nature, and the quiet focus needed for the hunt. When it came time to film the hunting scenes, De Niro's movements and knowledge were completely authentic. The crew was amazed by how comfortable he was in the wilderness. What looked like an actor playing a hunter was actually a hunter who happened to be an actor. That wasn't just performance, it was total immersion. The Russian roulette. That wasn't historical. One of the biggest controversies about the film is the central role of Russian roulette. Historians and veterans have pointed out that there is almost no evidence that the Viet Cong ever forced prisoners of war to play Russian roulette. It was a dramatic invention by the screenwriter. However, director Michael Cimino defended the choice, saying he wasn't making a documentary. He used Russian roulette as a powerful metaphor for the randomness and madness of war. It was a way to show how war turns men into animals, forcing them to play a game of life and death for no reason. What looked like a historical event was actually a brilliant symbolic creation, the singing that was unplanned. The film's final scene, where the friends sing "God Bless America" after a funeral, is one of the most emotional endings in cinema history. The moment was not scripted in detail. Michael Cimino simply told the actors to sing the song together, and their raw, broken voices created an unforgettable feeling of grief. Christopher Walken, in particular, looks completely lost, his voice barely a whisper. The scene was filmed in a real church, and the actors were emotionally exhausted from the entire shoot. Their performance is a perfect blend of acting and real, deep sadness. What looked like a planned ending was actually a raw, spontaneous cry from the heart, the star who made her own lines. This was one of the very first film roles for a young actress named Meryl Streep. She played Linda, the woman who is caught in a love triangle between Michael and Nick. Even though she was new to Hollywood, Streep was already a master of her craft. She felt that some of her lines in the script didn't sound natural, so she quietly rewrote them herself to make them more authentic. Director Cimino was so impressed by her instincts that he allowed her to do it. Her performance is subtle, powerful, and completely believable, announcing the arrival of one of the greatest actresses who would ever live. That wasn't just a performance. It was the first glimpse of a legend, the dangerous helicopter escape. The scene where Michael and Nick escape from a Vietnamese prison camp by being lifted into a helicopter by a rope is a masterpiece of chaos and tension. It was also incredibly dangerous to film. The actors were suspended hundreds of feet in the air over a river, with real water being poured on them by rain machines to simulate a monsoon. The helicopter spun and dipped, and the actors were genuinely terrified. The stuntmen performing the high falls into the water were risking their lives with every take. The director wanted the audience to feel the vertigo and the panic of the escape, and he achieved it by putting his actors in real peril. What looked like thrilling movie making was actually a life-threatening stunt, the real Steel Town location. The film's first act is set in a small industrial town in Pennsylvania. To capture the authentic feeling of this blue-collar community, the filmmakers didn't build a set. They went to 8 different real towns in Pennsylvania and Ohio, including Cleveland and Mingo Junction. They filmed in real bars, real homes, and real steel mills. The local people, many of whom were actual steelworkers, served as extras and background actors. This decision gave the film a gritty, documentary-like feel that you simply cannot fake. The soot on the faces and the smoke from the factories were all real. What looked like a perfect movie set was actually a real, working-class American town. The music that wasn't written for the film. The beautiful, haunting guitar theme that plays throughout the movie is called Cavatina. It's one of the most famous movie melodies of all time. But here's the secret. It wasn't written for The Deer Hunter. The composer, Stanley Myers, originally wrote it for another film in 1970, but it didn't become famous until Michael Cimino heard it and decided to use it for his movie. The simple, sad melody perfectly captures the film's mood of friendship and loss. After The Deer Hunter, the piece became a worldwide hit, but its connection to the film is what made it immortal. What sounded like a perfect score was actually a rediscovered gem. The one-take toast. In the long wedding scene, there is a moment where Stephen, the groom, stands up to give a toast. The actor who played him, John Savage, was so nervous that he kept forgetting his lines. After several failed takes, director Michael Cimino came up with a brilliant idea, told the camera crew to get ready, and then whispered to Savage to just say whatever came to his heart from the heart. The camera rolled, and Savage delivered a beautiful, rambling, and completely improvised toast that felt more real than any written line could ever be. The other actors' reactions were genuine. What looked like a scripted moment was actually a perfect piece of improvisation. The final shot that was a secret. The very last shot of the film shows the inside of the bar with the friends gathered around the table after singing. The camera slowly pulls back, leaving them in their small, private world. This shot was a secret message from the director. Cimino wanted to show that even though the war was over and they were back home, they were still trapped together in their shared trauma. The world moves on outside, but they are left in that room, forever changed by their experience. It's a quiet, devastating final image that sums up the entire film. What looked like a simple ending shot was actually the film's final, sad statement. The real amputation. The character of Nick, played by Christopher Walken, comes back from the war with a broken mind and an addiction to the deadly game of Russian roulette. In one scene, we see a close-up of his hand. This detail was Walken's idea. He had read about a real condition where veterans' hands would shake after traumatic experiences. He practiced the twitch for weeks, making it look like a nervous, helpless spasm. The director's tyrannical style. Michael Cimino was a brilliant director, but he was also incredibly demanding. He was known for his obsession with detail and for pushing his cast and crew to their absolute limits. He would sometimes shoot over 50 takes of a single scene, searching for a specific feeling or look that only he could see. He was so focused on his vision that he would sometimes forget to eat or sleep. This intense, almost tyrannical style created a lot of tension on set, but it also resulted in the film's incredible beauty and emotional power. What looked like a smooth, beautiful film was born from chaos and exhaustion. The Oscar-winning performance that almost wasn't Christopher Walken won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role as Nick. It is a legendary performance, full of innocence, confusion, and terrifying emptiness. But Walken was not the first choice for the role. The part was originally offered to another actor, who turned it down. When Walken was cast, he was still a relatively unknown stage actor, famous for his strange and intense presence. No one could have predicted that his quiet, haunting performance would become one of the most celebrated in film history. What looked like a perfect fit was actually a lucky second choice that changed everything. The real gunshots. To make the Russian roulette scenes as terrifying as possible, the sound effects team did not use standard movie gun sounds. Instead, they recorded the sound of real, high-powered rifles being fired in a closed room. They wanted the audience to feel the same deafening, bone-shaking blast that the characters would feel. The sound of the gun going off in the film is so loud and sharp, this commitment to realism makes the scenes almost unbearable to watch. What sounded like movie effects was actually the sound of real, dangerous firepower captured for the screen. The deer's point of view. In the final hunting scene, Michael is in the mountains and he finally sees the magnificent stag he has been hunting. He raises his rifle, aims, and then lowers it. He lets the deer go. This is the moment he finally finds peace. To film this, the director used a special camera to get a shot from the deer's point of view, looking back at Michael. This simple choice makes the moment incredibly powerful. We are not just watching a man, we are the deer, seeing the mercy in his eyes. It's the moment the hunter becomes a healer. What looked like a simple camera angle was actually the key to the entire film's meaning. The secret message in This Is This. There is a very short, quiet scene in the bar before the war. Michael is trying to explain something to Stanley, who is confused. Michael finally looks at him and says, "This is this." It's a simple, almost nonsensical line, but it carries the film's entire philosophy. It means that some things just are what they are, and you can't explain them or change them. It's about accepting reality, whether it's the simple rules of a bar game or the brutal, unexplainable madness of war. This one line, delivered perfectly by De Niro, is the key to understanding his character's journey. What sounded like a simple line was actually a deep piece of philosophy. The film that changed how we saw war. Before The Deer Hunter, most war movies were about action, heroism, and clear-cut battles between good and evil. This film changed everything. It showed that the real war doesn't end when you come home. It showed that the deepest wounds are the ones you can't see. The film's unflinching look at psychological trauma, addiction, and the broken lives of veterans was something audiences had never seen before. It opened the door for more honest and complex war films like Platoon and Born on the 4th of July. It didn't just tell a story about Vietnam, it changed the language of cinema forever. That wasn't just a movie, it was a revolution. Here is a hidden story that very few people know. The iconic green beret that Nick wears in the Vietnam scenes was not a costume department creation. It was Christopher Walken's own hat. He had owned it for years before the film was made, and he brought it with him to the set. He felt it was the perfect thing for his character to wear, a symbol of the Special Forces, but also a little bit strange and out of place, just like Nick. When he first put it on for his costume test, director Michael Cimino immediately knew it was perfect. It gave the character an instant, mysterious identity. That beret wasn't just a prop, it was a piece of the actor's own soul that he lent to the character, making Nick even more unforgettable. One small choice changed movie history. The Deer Hunter is more than just a war story.